Okay, fine. So we have done the behavior therapy, and under this therapy, we use the term relaxation quite many times. Relaxation is mainly done in systematic desensitization, right? Whenever we are treating any irrational fear or any kind of phobia, and we are also using it in the principle of reciprocal inhibition. Fine. Now there is a box number 5.2 given on page number 97. They are giving lot more information about relaxation procedures. How does this treatment, how does this procedure proceed? So the behavior therapist views anxiety as increasing the arousal level of the client. Whenever we talk in terms of behavioral therapy, what these therapists look at the anxiety, because this anxiety is increasing our arousal level. Yes, it is very obvious whenever we are anxious, we always are in a aroused state, in a alert stage, in a attentive stage, in a very restless stage. Fine. So therapist, the behavior therapist is viewing anxiety as increasing the arousal level of the client, thereby acting as an antecedent factor in causing the faulty behavior. What does it mean? If you have gone through the chapter, you will easily going to understand this line, that we have talked about an example in which the antecedent condition was what? The anxiety provoking situation. Now, anxiety provoking situation, you remember the example about a young person who starts smoking whenever his annual exams are about to approach. Fine. So in that case, the anxiety provoking situation was an antecedent condition. Fine. So it is acting as an antecedent factor. What? Anxiety in causing the faulty behavior. Faulty behavior is what? Smoking. Fine. So anxiety is acting as an antecedent factor, or the factors which are responsible beforehand for causing any kind of faulty behavior. The client may smoke to decrease anxiety, may indulge in other activities such as eating, or be unable to concentrate for long hours on his study. Right? So these are what? Faulty behavior. Whether you are having abnormal eating habits, if you are going for smoking, if you are start taking alcohol, if you are not able to concentrate for long hours on your studies. So these are what? All faulty behavior. And these are arising because of the antecedent condition. And what is that antecedent condition? The anxiety provoking situation. And it could be different for everyone. For some students, exam could be an anxiety provoking situation. For some students, speaking in front of a lot of audience, quite a good number of audience, could be anxiety provoking situations. So many situations are there, and it could be different for everyone according to their personality. Now what is happening? Reduction of anxiety would decrease the unwanted behavior of excessive eating or smoking, right? If anxiety is reduced, all of a sudden automatically these faulty behavior will also come to an end or decrease to an extent. Now what is this relaxation procedure? For instance, progressive muscular relaxation and meditation induce a state of relaxation. अब relaxation के लिए कौन सी दो चीजें important हैं according to this procedure? Progressive muscular relaxation. See, they are very specifically using this term progressive. That means it is progressing. It is increasing step by step. And the second thing, mainly it is focusing upon the muscular parts, the muscular movements of our body. And the other thing is what? Meditation. These two things combine, and then this relaxation procedure proceeds. What happens now? In progressive muscular relaxation, the client is taught to contract individual muscle groups in order to give the awareness of tenseness or muscular tension. Now, what does this mean? See, if you are in a very anxious state, what the therapist will suggest you, how they will proceed you. Suppose let's take the example of Priyanshi, right? as a therapist, what I will ask you, Priyanshi, I will ask you to just close your eyes, right? And I will ask you next instruction, what I'm going to give you, that please concentrate upon the part on which you are, experiencing the muscular tension. Suppose due to this anxiety, you are having pain in your neck and in your shoulder. It happens, yes. All these backaches, all these pains are also because of anxiety. So suppose if you are experiencing pain in your neck becomes so stiff, and you're also having pain in shoulders. So what I will say, close your eyes, Priyanshi, start concentrating upon your neck and shoulder muscles. First I will ask you to contract it. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मतलब उसको और ऐसा फील करो कि इसमें टेंशन और एंजाइटी भर गया है ना. Just start imagining that situation. After the client has learned to tense the muscle groups such as the forearm or any other organ, the client is asked to let go the tension. First I will ask you, as if all your anxiety and tension is collected into that part. Which part? In your neck and shoulder part. And after that, what I will ask you, just imagine as if your tension and anxiety is just getting out in the form of whatever you imagine. You can imagine that it is going out of your body in the form of smoke, in the form of any kind of smoke, in the form of any kind of fog, anything. You just imagine in the form of any rays, in the form of any kind of vibrations. So you will start imagining, all of a sudden all those tensions, stress and anxiety are going out of your body parts to the environment. It is going out of your body, right? The client is told that the tension is what the client has at present, and that she has to get into the opposite state. Abhi, first what the therapist will say, that you have tension, you have anxiety, and it is collected over the part near neck and shoulder. Now what he will say, that all these have released and you are going in the opposite direction. That means you are now relaxing. With repeated practice, the client learns to relax all the muscles of the body. Now gradually what will happen? Slowly, gradually, the patient will start experiencing the relaxation mode. Now he or she will say that yes, now I'm feeling as if all the things, all the bad things have gone out from my body. All my muscles are now relaxed, right? So this is a stage of relaxation. You will learn about meditation at a later point in this chapter. Fine. So meditation will going to cover up under the heading of alternative therapies, which we're going to discuss. But for now, this progressive muscle relaxation and meditation are the two techniques which are practiced under relaxation procedures. One we have discussed in detail, and I'll tell you about meditation in the next session whenever we're going to cover that topic. Fine, right? Okay, chalo. So next we start with client-centered therapy. As we have done humanistic existential therapy, and we have also covered particularly specific therapy, logotherapy, which is a type of existential therapy. Now let us start with a very common, a very famous client-centered therapy. This therapy you have done in chapter number 2. I hope you remember, under the same heading, the humanistic existential therapy, right? So client-centered therapy was given by whom? Carl Roger. Fine. What is the basic core of this therapy? That Roger combined the scientific rigor with the individualized practice of client psychotherapy. See, he has combined two things. Individualized practice of client-centered means that in this therapy, the prime focus is upon the client. How does the client take over the responsibility, or how does he treats his disorder? And second thing, the scientific also it is combined with it under this therapy. Now, the concept of self with freedom and choice are the core of one's existence or of one's being. So mainly he has focused upon two things, freedom and choice in your life. Now you have to again remember the terms and keep on explaining the terms. So under this therapy, first of all, just tell who has given Carl Roger, right? What is the core idea of this therapy? It is mainly focused upon the freedom and choice in one's individual life. Now next, start explaining the empathy. As we have discussed this many times, so I don't think you all understand what is empathy. Start explaining what is empathy, because it is a very important part of client-centered therapy. Then comes what? Unconditional positive regard. This also we have done. Unconditional positive regard means what? That therapist is listening to the client in a very unbiased manner. He or she is not putting any condition in front of a client. He is the therapist is just taking the things as it is coming from the client side. So unconditional positive, but still the therapist is positive. The therapist is giving a very positive sign, a very positive behavior to the client whenever the client is open to him, whenever the client is sharing his all indirect expressions or the hidden desires or whatever the conflicts are there, he is discussing with the therapist. So therapist is unconditionally positive, right? So this is unconditional positive regard. Now what else? In a non-judgmental manner. So what is the next thing? Non-judgmental, when the therapist is not judging, it is also related to unconditional positive regard. Whenever the client is telling any kind of negative experiences, the therapist is still maintaining a non-judgmental attitude. He is not starting, he never started with judging. This is so wrong. You have done this wrong thing to that person. He will never say. He will first let the client open with his things, and then gradually he will direct the client, but for the time being he maintain that non-judgmental approach. Now another important thing, the reflection. The word reflection is given. You have to explain it a little. What is it? The reflection is achieved by rephrasing the statements of the client, that is seeking simple clarifications to enhance the meaning of the client's statement. Now, what is reflection? Suppose a client said something to me, and as a therapist, I will reflect back that thing to the client in a very logical and very rational and in a very realistic manner, right? Suppose the client is saying that I'm not wanted, fine. I'm not wanted, nobody loves me. These are the certain negative emotions expressed by the client to me. As a therapist, in the reflection process, what I will say, I will just give the realistic picture or the logic behind the things to the client so that he will understand the realistic part. So what I'm doing in reflection, I'm rephrasing the statements of the client. And why I'm doing this? Just to give clarifications or just to increase the client's awareness about himself, right? अगर distress है, कोई disorder है, तो obviously children negative emotions are there, negative thinking will be there, irrational beliefs will be there. So as a therapist, what is my responsibility? To make that person understand the things in a very realistic manner. Suppose he is saying that I am not wanted, so maybe this is true also. I will make him realize that these are the things, these are the behavior, these are the particular features are there about your personality which makes you unwanted, right? Or if it is not realistic, then I will make him understand that, see, this thing is not there. It is not real. This is just your imagination, fine. So in this form, the reflection is provided by the therapist to the client. So another word, which word is important? Reflection. Then the last word, real self. What is the essence? This therapy helps a client to become her or his real self with the therapist working as a facilitator. You remember humanistic and existential therapy, what happens? The therapist is merely a facilitator. It is not, he's not taking the whole responsibility. Whereas in psychodynamic and behavior therapy, what we studied, the therapist is playing a very important role. But in humanistic, the therapist is merely a facilitator, a guide, a mentor who is guiding you, who's guiding the client, and just to realize his real self. We all have studied about self in chapter number 2. So real self, when you are aware about your strength, about your weaknesses in a very realistic manner, when you accept the wrong things also, and when you try to improve your behavior or overcome your weaknesses. So this is real self. So client centered therapy का अगर summarization करेंगे, what you will going to write, who has given this therapy, then what is the core of this therapy, what are the things mainly it is focusing. Start explaining about empathy, then unconditional positive regard, the non-judgmental manner or attitude. Then after you are going to explain what is reflection, and in the last what is real self. Okay, ye terms if you're going to remember, you will explain the full therapy in a very nice manner, in a very sequential manner, right? Okay, fine. So let us start with another therapy, Gestalt therapy. Now Gestalt therapy is what? The German word Gestalt means whole. We have also studied this word where in chapter number 5 in 11th standard. It is related to perception. So Gestalt therapy means to see, to look at the things as a whole. When you sum up the parts and look the things in a holistic manner, right? So this is a German word Gestalt, which means whole. Now this therapy was given by Frederick. In bracket, it's giving Fritz. So you can use the word Fritz also. Pearls together with his wife, Laura Pearls, right? So just try to remember Frederick. No need to learn another name. The goal of Gestalt therapy is to increase an individual's self-awareness and self-acceptance. Again, the same things are coming, right? So what is important to learn in Gestalt therapy? It is mainly focusing upon two things. Self-awareness, to aware about yourself, and self-acceptance. First thing is, to be aware, to be known about yourself, right? You are clear with it. Then the second thing is what? Start accepting yourself. The problem is with many people, with ourselves also, sometimes we are not able to accept the wrong characteristics of our personality. Suppose if everyone is saying that you loses your temper very quickly. You are a short-tempered person, but we are not sometimes able to accept that criticism. We always take it in a negative manner, and we always oppose it either, or we also defend it by applying some defense mechanism. So this is all what we are distorting reality in some manner. So what this therapy is saying, कि पहले start developing awareness about yourself, and second, most important, try to accept that thing. जब acceptance होगा तभी improvement होगा, right? So two things are important: self-awareness and self-acceptance. The client is taught to recognize the bodily processes and the emotions that are being blocked out from awareness. Sometimes we are also not aware about ourselves. So what the client is taught to become aware, to pay attention to those emotions, to those bodily processes. The therapist does this by encouraging the client to act out fantasies about feelings and conflicts. इस line का क्या मतलब हुआ? What does this mean? Just read it again. The therapist does this by encouraging the client to act out fantasies about feelings and conflicts. See, it is very simple to say, start developing awareness about yourself. But a simple question comes to our mind: what is the process? How can we realize it? How can we become aware of ourselves? So this is a technique they have introduced in Gestalt therapy. We all have fantasies in our life, right? You all agree? Fantasies, you all understand. We have all, very weird kind of dreams sometimes, very unusual kind of goals in our life. So we always become fearful or hesitate to express them directly. We never talk about them to anyone, right? So what they are saying, because of these things, you are curbing some of your emotions, some of your feelings. That is why all kind of distortions occur, all kind of problems occur. So what this therapy is suggesting you, it is encouraging that you can act out those indirect, you can act out those unusual, weird, or your fantasies in a very acceptable manner. Now, what are those acceptable manner? You must have noticed this thing or observed that while performing any role in a drama, or while dancing, or while singing, you can act out your fantasies. See, if some person loves sad song to a very great extent, right? Whenever he's given a choice, he always go for listening to sad song. So we can take out a meaning out of it, that maybe that person is going from some trauma, or that person is having lot of sad experiences in his previous life. So he get, some kind of satisfaction, some kind of relaxation by listening to the sad songs, or by concentrating upon the lyrics of those songs, because it is related to his own experiences. During performing role playing is a very effective technique. Some child doesn't express well, or he's not good in communication skills in real life, but when you give him a role in a certain drama where he is required to perform a very extrovert kind of personality, so at the deep of his unconsciousness, he also want to become very good in communication, to communicate very effectively. And in that drama, in that role, he performed that role excellent. So what does it show? That during role playing or during performing any role in drama, he is expressing those emotions and feelings indirectly, because nobody will say that this is real you. Everybody will say that you have given a role and you have played that, but that person knows that I want to really become like this. So somewhere I just read about an interview about Sushant Singh, sorry. So what he has written, he said that I'm a very introvert kind of person. Fine. But why I have chosen to come into this film line, why I have decided to become a hero, because I want to perform all those things, or I want to perform all those characters which I was, uh, dreamed of. I have some dreams to become. He want to become an astronaut, so he has played a role. I don't remember the film, but what does it mean? That the person wants to perform different kind of characters, different kind of things in his life, and he is expressing them indirectly, right? He is not an extrovert person. He speaks very less. He's an introvert. He's a very shy and reserved kind in his childhood years. But when he decided to join this line where you have to express yourself in a very vibrant and very effective manner, so he is, satisfying all his emotions and feelings by performing various kind of roles. So this is also a kind of expressing your fantasies through indirect ways. So there is role playing, or you can dance on a song, you can even sing a song, and many kind of other techniques are there. The empty chair is a kind of technique. I'll tell you about it on some other day when we just have a general conversation. Empty chair is a kind of technique. It is also performed under this Gestalt therapy. Right, children?